After attempting to deceive death, Sisyphus was condemned by the gods to a task in the underworld, to carry a stone to the summit of a mountain, and on the verge of completing his work, to watch helplessly as it rolled down the slope of that same mountain, returning to its initial state, a condition that would doom him to repeat his task for eternity. Fully aware that he would never be able to complete it, few works managed to capture the melancholy of a condemned existence as effectively as Donnie Darko. But more than just melancholic, it is also an absurd piece of cinema. Beyond the initial sense of estrangement caused by its ending, after all, director Richard Kelly shows no concern whatsoever in explaining his allegories. The entire narrative ends up condensed into a tangle of confusing, debatable scenes. It introduces philosophical concepts, time travel, physics phenomena, and metaphors thrown at the audience without categorization or even time to absorb their impact, leading to countless interpretations about the nature of existence within this universe. Was Donnie's death justified by a greater sacrifice, or was it simply another random event? Is there any meaning behind the 28-day countdown inside the parallel reality? What is the definitive timeline, and what is the impact of the loop this universe seems to have placed itself in? These are all questions that remain unanswered, even 2 decades after the film's release. A film that continues to spark theories and absurd moments. And make no mistake, here the word absurd is not just a figure of speech. Before we continue, consider liking and subscribing, as that helps us grow and contributes to the frequency and quality of the videos here on the channel. And if you'd like to join the discussion, leave your opinion about the film or this analysis in the comments below. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the subject. When we are introduced to Donnie, we immediately notice his loneliness, his schizoid, misunderstood, yet undeniably brilliant personality. In essence, a tragic character. In fact, Donnie's personality is so delicate that it becomes hard not to grow fond of him from the very first moment he appears on screen. Without the need for dialogue, it's clear that his life and his mind are a complete mess, and that chaos is far from being his fault. The film implies that Donnie has always been troubled, ever since early childhood, and he never really held out hope of living any other way. He simply got used to it. But ultimately, what is Donnie Darko about? When the jet engine crashes into Donnie's bedroom, he becomes a glitch in the eyes of fate. His death had already been written. He was supposed to die that night. However, this random event, caused by his sleepwalking, led him to leave his room and remain alive, thereby generating a parallel reality, one that repels the original timeline. This wouldn't be a problem if the physics of Donnie Darko's universe allowed for a 5th dimension, but it doesn't. Therefore, as soon as this parallel universe is created, it begins a process of self-destruction, since the primary timeline cannot move forward with Donnie Darko still alive. This countdown is marked by the first appearance of Frank, the boy in the creepy rabbit costume. During this period, Donnie meets Gretchen, they fall in love, and all the events of the film unfold. But once the story reaches its climax, all of these characters must return to the original moment, with Donnie facing a choice to leave his room again and live those 28 days, or to accept death. In essence, it becomes a battle between accepting one's fate or trying to fight it. It's a fairly quick scene, which contributes to how confusing the film can feel on first watch, but it's absolutely crucial to understanding the film's message. Jake Gyllenhaal nails it here, delivering a frantic, anarchic, absurd laugh, a perfect transcription of Donnie's mental state at that moment. In a matter of seconds, the protagonist is forced to confront a brutal decision: step out of his room and relive the 28 days, dooming everyone he loves once again, or die alone and forgotten without ever falling in love or experiencing even the faintest spark of hope. It's a beautifully crafted tragedy, and Donnie's decision to sacrifice himself at the first opportunity to save the universe can be seen as an act of rebellion, a declaration of his freedom in the face of destiny. Repeating the cycle would only make him miserable. In Donnie's case, the ideal path was to abandon hope right from the start, to destroy any expectations that things could be different or that he could somehow be saved, because he couldn't. And it's this condemned perspective that sets him free. Only by recognizing that his life and his reality were meaningless could Donnie find any kind of peace in existence. Albert Camus was a 20th century French-Algerian philosopher, best known for his works The Stranger, The Plague, and The Myth of Sisyphus, all of which, in different ways, explore his philosophical school, absurdism. Absurdism is marked by the exploration of the human condition in an apparently indifferent and meaningless universe. The central allegory of his reflection is the myth of Sisyphus, a character from Greek mythology condemned to perpetually push a boulder up a mountain, only to watch it roll back down, trapped in an endless cycle. This myth, according to Camus, serves as an analogy for human existence itself, as life would be nothing more than a series of futile efforts. From this perception, Camus develops his ideas about hope, rebellion, and the rejection of philosophical suicide as a response to the absurd. This notion arises from the clash between the human need for meaning, pursued through reason and rationality, and the universe's complete indifference to these longings. Life, for Camus, is inherently absurd. Events occur randomly and without purpose. In Donnie Darko, Donnie stepping out of his room and surviving is a random event, just like the fact that the universe was doomed to collapse. None of it had any inherent meaning. Trying to assign value to his life or to the time he spent with Gretchen was a futile effort for Donnie, who would die, one way or another, either crushed by the turbine or of old age beside the girl. To better illustrate this idea, Camus uses the allegory of Sisyphus, who, in endlessly pushing the stone, represents the repetition of a meaningless task, reflecting the human routine that often seems devoid of purpose. In Donnie Darko, this is mirrored in Donnie's efforts to understand Roberta Sparrow's book on time travel, the existence of Frank the Rabbit, and all the other absurd events happening in his town. To resolve this existential tension, Camus proposes a shift in Sisyphus's attitude, conscious revolt, his choice to actively face the destiny imposed on him. In other words, to find meaning in the very act of rolling the boulder itself. This rebellion symbolizes the possibility of discovering meaning within the revolt itself, even when confronted with the apparent futility of one's actions.